All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stock Analysis Friday on this August 2nd, 2024. Great to be here and great to have you here. All right, so the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday is to basically look up stocks that you're interested in. Perhaps you got a tip, perhaps you got a call from your broker, and you kind of want to know what to do with a particular stock from a technical standpoint. That's why we're here. So when we look at this stuff, what we do is we apply our software tools. We've been doing this now for over 30 years. Traderscoach.com started back in 1998, officially incorporated in the year 2000. And of course, I was in the markets for a good 10 years before that. So anyway, we've got a lot of experience in it. We do a lot of coaching. We have a lot of software tools. We do a lot of prop account trading and all that kind of good stuff. So let me go ahead and get through the administrational items, but go ahead and find the comments area in the webinar software on YouTube here, and go ahead and type in the symbols that you want me to look up. Maybe you're long in something. If you're long in something, let me know that you're long. And if you want to share the price you got in, please do that, because that will help me kind of tell you what I think you should do based on where you got in and what the market's doing now. And don't forget, type in your stocks and caps for me, or ETFs. All right, we're not going to look at any futures here, so it's just stocks and ETFs. And also to do two at a time. All right, we're only going to be here about a half an hour after I get through all the administrational stuff, like the risk control. I got to talk about that and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be here for about a half an hour. So do two picks at a time, and then if nobody's doing any, you can do another two if you want. All right, so let's do it that way, and then put them in caps. All right, well, let me breeze through this administrational fun stuff, and that brings us first to the risk disclosure. And what we want to basically advise you here is that there's no guarantees in trading the markets, whether you're investing, trading, day trading. There's no guarantees. It is a skill. And what we do is help you develop that skill. And some people are good at this, and some people aren't. And it usually has to do with psychology, okay? And the markets can create a lot of fear and greed. They're designed to do that, and they're very good at doing that. And some people have a very hard time overcoming those greed and fear type of emotions. And they usually have a more difficult time of it. But we can help you with that. A rule base certainly goes a long way to helping you actually trade the markets without the emotions, and it really is key. There's a couple other things that are key. Of course, you have to have an edge in the market. You want to make sure you're trading what we call those A-plus trades. You have to use risk control on each and every trade. That's really important. And of course, you want to trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. I'm going to be giving you my opinion today on different stocks you want me to look up, or stocks I may want to offer to you. And remember, this is my opinion based off my analysis. I don't know your personal situation, so I'm going to ask that you run anything that I suggest past your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure what I'm talking about here is suitable for you. That's really super important. All right, what else can I tell you? Another thing here on the risk control, past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. Now, if you're into day trading, I'm going to get to a slide here where we talk about a way in which you can day trade without risking your own money. And those are the prop accounts. I trade them. I love them. All right. Yes, they have rules, but all the rules are designed actually to make you a better trader. So certainly something to pay attention to when I get to that slide. All right, so that's risk, no guarantees. Past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. Now, if you need help with anything from money management to developing your trading style to certain forms of technical analysis like Elliott Wave, and to learn more about our software, I got a ton of books out there. I'm going to put the link in the recording for a direct link to our Amazon page where you can read and then read the reviews. That's always fun. But a good place to start if you're brand new is money management, okay? You have to have good risk control. It's kind of like the seatbelt when you get into a car. What's the first thing you do when you get into a car? You put your seatbelt on, right? And the reason for that is because it keeps you from getting killed, hopefully, if you get into an accident. Well, when you start out with trading, first thing you want to do is put on that risk control seatbelt so you don't wipe your account out, right? So that's step number one. So that's a good place to start. The Art of Trading, my newest book, actually coming out this year on the far right, is the second edition. My first one came out in 2008. So as you can tell, we've been doing this a while. But the second edition is a huge book. Looks like it's going to be around 600 pages, give or take 20 or 30, depending on how they lay it out. But it's very comprehensive, pretty much has most of the stuff from the first book, but a lot more, okay? So you can pre-order that because it'll be shipping this year. And again, I'll put a link below, or you can just go to our website at either traderscoach.com or appliedrealitytrading.com. All right, so we've got Elliott Wave Technique Simplified, another book on a different form of technical analysis called the Elliott Wave. So you can check those out as well. When it comes to software, we coin the software that we've developed really over the last, 30 years of doing this. But software really came to the market in around 2003 for us. I had been trading with a large wirehouse before, and this software is a culmination of what I found works and best in the markets. And so the technology really got to a point where we could release it in 2003. And we have charting software at the top called the ART software with the OWL, PTF, TLM, and ERI indicators. Those tell us timing, when to go in. The row in the center is how we find stocks. There's thousands, tens of thousands of stocks out there. So how do you find the needle in the haystack to trade, right? And the answer is the scanners, okay? They do all the hard work of sorting through the different variables that we like to scan for. And then at the bottom here, we have risk control software. And of course, I've already talked about how important risk control is. This software makes it easy, okay? Trade size is calculated and risk to reward is calculated as well. All right, a quick commercial on Apex, and I'm gonna put a link up here in the chat area where you can get the discount that we have because we have an affiliate relationship with Apex. So Apex, I like the best. There's a lot of others out there and you can check them out on your own, but Apex has been around the longest. They do the payouts, okay? You can see the payout, huge payouts down below. And so the idea behind these prop firms is they start you out with a valuation account, which is a fancy word for a simulated account. And what they do is they give you free data, which is great. You pay a subscription fee, and that subscription fee, you can get 80% off if you use the coupon code in the link above that I put in the text chat area. So be sure you do that if you're interested in doing this. And then basically, you're able to trade on their platform. They have Tradeovate, they have Rhythmic. They also have connections to Ninja Trader, which is very, very popular. So you can use all that stuff and it's free data. So the subscription fees are, I think, cheaper than if you had to get free data on your own. So definitely check that out. Now, it's for the futures market only. So it's not stocks. And this is for day trading only. So all your results are calculated at the end of each day. And so you're not allowed to carry an open position overnight when you do this type of trading. But it is a fantastic way to get your feet into day trading without really risking your own money. And even once you get really good at this, okay, still you get 90% payouts on this. So if you make 100 grand, you'll get 90 grand. And the first 25 grand is free, so to speak. No splitting it at all with them. So you can check out all the terms and the rules on the Apex website. But if you're going to do it, definitely use my code because I'm trying to save you some money, okay? All right, so there's that. And then give us a like if you wouldn't mind doing that today real quick. We would appreciate that. All right, let's get out of the administrational items. And what we're going to do here is basically be together now for, a half an hour or so. I'm going to start out with Bitcoin. Let me just get these charts nice and small so you can read the actual price, or at least the indicators. Let me shrink those up here. All right, so let me get all set up here. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin first because that seems to be a very popular thing, and I like to cover it kind of as a general thing. So On the Bitcoin market, you notice I've got it up in front of you here, and I've got it on 3 charts. So I use the NinjaTrader charting platform. That's what I'm using for my display here. And on the far left, okay, I've got basically, let me just redo this so we get this set up correctly. I apologize for that. Okay, there we go, Bitcoin. Okay, so on the far left-hand chart, we got the 60-minute chart, and this is the daily chart, and then I have the weekly chart. All right, so on the 60-minute chart, it's all of the same symbol. So when you give me a symbol, I'm going to type it in, and all 3 charts are going to be the symbol you want me to look at. So why do I do this? Why do I want to take a look at 3 charts with all our software loaded on it? Well, the purpose of that is multiple time frame analysis. So I'm looking at the short-term aspect of what we're analyzing. I'm looking at the intermediate and then the longer-term aspect. And so I do this to get a big picture, an intermediate picture, and a short-term picture on whatever stock or ETF we're going to discuss today, or even Bitcoin for that matter. All right, and it helps me analyze more thoroughly than just looking at one chart. And when it's time to actually take the trade, the culmination of 3 charts with our software loaded on it gives me a picture of the best time to pull the trigger to get into the particular area here. All right, let me see here. Ben, the screen is black. Really? Okay. I don't know why that is. Let me do this one more time. Maybe it went offline. We've been having a little trouble with that. Did that come back on now? Hopefully that's good now. Just let me know in the comments area. All right, excellent. So I had it set up before. When did it go out? Did it go out the entire time, or was it just when we started looking? In other words, when we just started looking at charts, I shouldn't have to refresh anything. It should be right there. This is, there's no refreshing I need to do. You can, as long as you can see it. Okay, interesting. So it went out just when I went to the charts. That's kind of weird. Okay. Well, you let me know right away if it goes out again, okay? Because, I'll be the last one to know. All right. So in any case, when we look at stuff, we're going to be looking at 3 time frames. All right. Gene's saying that we have to refresh on our end. Wow, that's kind of weird. All right. So that's kind of interesting. Shouldn't have to work like that. But in any case here, you let me know if there's a future problem. Okay. I'll just keep going. So when we take a look at these markets, that's why we look at the 3 time frames to get a good overview of when to pull the trigger, best time to pull the trigger. All right, so now I've got Bitcoin up here. And, Bitcoin we are bullish on. However, in terms of the Elliott wave and everything we look at, there are 5 waves in an Elliott wave trend. So this is a 3. This is a 4. And we think we're moving up into 5. Now, it is possible that this could go into a more complex correction and come down a little bit or remain bracketed before it gets higher. But it should eventually resolve itself to getting higher. And the goal for this, or the target for this one here, is 86,800 to 107,000. So that's our target. Now, in terms of timing of when we think that's going to happen, probably we have to clear this correctional area here. And so once we clear that, it should go pretty quick, but we haven't technically cleared it yet. It comes up and then pulls back. So what we're hoping is we've reached the target zone initially. Now, it could go back down into the target zone again, but I'm kind of thinking that this is a place where we may have a significant bottom. And so let's see on this pullback that we've been in for the last 5 days, because we got up almost to 70 just a little while ago. And now it's come back down. So let's see if we get a turnaround before taking out the bottom here. And if we do and break this high, that's another buy point, okay? So that would be a great place to take a momentum trade to get to that target as quick as possible. I wouldn't take it in here yet because you may get stuck going sideways until we get the breakout. And, who wants to do that, right? If you're in it already, all right, then you're probably in it for a longer term situation than just a swing trade because you would have been out over here back in the spring. But if you're in it for the long term, I think you can hold it because I think you'll get rewarded. All the charts are indicating eventually more bullishness should come in. And we've got some indicators that we rely on this weekly chart over here, long term. Notice this one indicator, which is ours, called the Precision Trend Filter, PTF. And that PTF is green, has a 75% probability of accuracy. And when it's green, you take the highest price bar in that green area, which is up here, above 70,000. And there's a 75% probability the market will eventually return and go higher than that. What it doesn't tell you is how long you're going to have to wait, nor does it tell you the profit taking that you have to endure before that happens. But in any case, for a long-term holder, that's kind of good to know because you don't want it to end up like the last Bitcoin where it went way up and then went almost all the way down. So we don't see that configuration happening. What I see here is a normal pullback, just like you would get in any stock or any futures market or any ETF, followed by more highs. So I think that basically what I'm saying is I think the uptrend is still in place, okay? So Bitcoin, I'm bullish on. Short term, we may have a little more volatility to put up with. That's kind of where I'm at right there. All right. So go ahead and type your stocks. And if you're typing them in, I can't see them, okay? So go ahead and type them in the comments area. Now let's make sure we're okay there, at least. So we'll do that. I think a fun one to look at is UNG. That's the ETF for natural gas. Okay, so I mean, I've drawn a trend line down here. We have really come incredibly low on the natural gas, whether it's the futures market or the ETF. And, we're sitting at an all-time low on natural gas. What's interesting is, have you looked at your gas bill? I don't think anybody's getting the advantage of these low prices on the gas market. But this is natural gas, so this is not gas at the pump where you fill your car. This is actually the gas you heat your house with and cook with. But it's at an all-time low. And if you look at any of the reasoning for why your bills aren't coming down that much, it usually has to do, well, supply and demand and so forth and so on. Well, this is supply and demand. Okay, this is what they're buying natural gas at. It's at an all-time low. So go figure, right? In any case, don't buy this yet. I do think it will be a good buy in the future at some point when this finishes bottoming. I think it's going to be a great trade. I think you'll eventually make a lot of money on it, but it's all about timing. Okay, so we kind of got to wait for this move down to stop, bottom, and then take a look at it going back up. All right, so let's move on here. All right, so hopefully you can still see everything okay. KVUE is the first one for Stuart. All right, let's see what we got cooking here, Stu, for you. All right, not much history. I don't like looking at stuff with not much history because I need the footprints of the market to do my analysis, right? So what I can tell you is obviously it's been moving down, all right? Doesn't take a genius to see that. We have a possible bottoming here, which I think is why you kind of like it. We still have a red owl here. We no longer have a red PTF. So that's a good sign for a bottom. We have bullish divergence, another good sign for a bottom. And we have some movement now that's looking pretty good to the upside. We've had a break here and a pyramid and no longer any shorts. So I'm liking that. All right, now we have an active short still by a bearish pyramid fractal on the weekly chart. So if any long positions you would be taking short term would be considered early at this point, simply because the weekly chart has not rotated yet to the upside or has as much bullishness as the lower time frame charts. And a good way to think about that, think of a large ship. Think of it like an aircraft carrier, okay? The weekly chart represents an aircraft carrier. The daily chart represents maybe things like the destroyers, and the 60-minute charts are like the little PTF boats, okay? So the aircraft carrier is going to be the hardest one to turn quickly, right? The smaller time frames can turn, smaller boats can turn much more quickly. So think of it like that. So we've got a situation where maybe the aircraft carrier, which is the weekly chart, is starting to turn, and the smaller boats have already turned. So if you wanted to take an early trade, okay, if you wanted to take an early trade, then you do have the requirements met on some of these lower time frames. For example, you have a green pyramid, green and green. So that's as good as it gets for an early entry. You do have red here, and basically that's indicating at this particular point, probably a situation where you're kind of getting a little bit of messiness in the market here. So I would not want to go long on that until I had a more favorable 60-minute chart at the very least. So we're going to put this on a watch list. And the thing about this, however, since we only meet every week, is that this is probably going to turn and go bullish on the 60-minute chart at some point during the week. Don't know exactly when, but I kind of would hold off on this a little bit. I think it's a little early, but I think you're spot on in starting to look at it. All right, let's take a look at CVS, which is your next one there, and you own both. And if you own both, I would hold that other one, Stuart, just hold it, okay? So CVS, we were looking at for a breakout. It got a breakout. Maybe it was a false one because it's pulled back in, obviously. But again, we got a pyramid here. We got a green PTF and a pullback here. So this is kind of one of these that should resolve itself, I think, more to the upside. But again, it's not an A+ trade, okay? It's more of like a C, all right? So I would avoid this one, okay? All right. Let me see here. Hold on. Okay, so, all right. Jim, how are you, Jim? All right, SH. Let's take a look at that bad boy and see how that's doing. All right, so we definitely got a pop on the smaller time frames. And the only thing with this, okay, so here's kind of an interesting one to look at. So what do you notice right away on the weekly chart over here? This one right here, a red PTF and a very strong red owl, okay? That's bearish, and we have an active pyramid to the downside. This is bullish. So why is this bullish and that's bearish? Well, we're probably having a correction in the downtrend, and that's what that means. Can you make a profit on the correction? Sometimes. Do you have to kind of have a feel of where the pullback is going to go? And that's a pretty strong owl and a pretty strong PTF over here. So let's take our fibs and kind of see. Now we've got a point up here. So if this is a brief correction, this could turn around at any time. If it's a more significant correction, it could go up to that area. It's not an A+ trade. Okay, so I would not take this. Now, if you wanted to watch it and maybe when it finally corrects and goes back down, you can take a short trade, but it's not lining up, and there's two possible retracement areas depending on how strong the overall trend is. We may only get a little bit higher than here. Okay, so and we got it now. We got even a yellow PTF just turned yellow over here in the 60-minute, and you got two red ones here. So no go on that, okay? Definitely not a strong enough indication to take a long trade. All right, let's take a look at PSQ. All right, PSQ, again, We have a red PTF here. We still have bearishness here. So again, possible retracement trade could work out for you, but it's not an A+ trade. Okay, so I would pass on that. All right, let's go on. Keep going here, Stuart. All right, LNC, eBay, both watch any target levels for these stocks. Let's take a look. So you're not in these. You're kind of thinking of these based on what possibly could be a target level. Oh boy, let's see what we got here. Now you probably, the only way you would have found out on this thing is if you, for some reason, saw something in the news or fundamentally that would make you look at this stock. Otherwise, why bother? There's nothing technically in this that I'd want to work on. Okay, so are you long any of these? Then you're or you're thinking about them, all right? Because it says you're watching them, right? So, I mean, look at the 60-minute chart. You got a red PTF. You don't have a green PTF on any of the other time frames. So she's pulling back. And it's terms of a significant bottom. Let's open up this chart. Can you make any sense of that? I can't. All right. Definitely you can't make any sense of that. And it's trending up on this chart. So even the short trade here, all right, I can't make any sense out of unless, you wanted to trade it for the next maybe a day. You might have a 60-minute short, but you also get a pullback to fill the gap before. So again, it's not an A+ setup. All right, let's keep going on here. eBay, let's take a look at that. All right, so eBay, okay. Let's take a look at the weekly chart and see if we can make sense out of something here. All right, let's grab a fib retracement. All right, so I'm thinking this is a 3, 4, and now we might have an unfolding wave 5. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of thinking on that. Now let's see where the target could be for that wave 5. And we're talking probably right around 83, almost 84, up to 113. We're at 56. That's not a bad return, is it? Okay, not bad one bit. So eBay looks good. I think this is also on my more list as a buy. So I'm liking this. I think we initiated this a buy a little while back. I think we also looked at it here. So I'm kind of liking this. And we've got a green PTF on the short term. You've got, all right, so you got one. Okay, so you got interrupted there. 1, 2, 3 pyramids in a row. I would say a couple things you could do here. If this is a long-term trade, you could go ahead and go in, but your stop's got to be down around 40. All right. If you're going to wait and for a pullback for a trade, you got bearish divergence here. Looks like you're going to make one more quick high, and then you'll probably get a pullback and get a better entry here. So I'm going to put this down as eBay is good for long-term. All right. Short-term, I would wait it out a little bit longer. Wait for a profit or a pullback, and then go ahead into the trade. All right, Jim, let's take a look at looking for a long on these stocks. Okay, so inverse here, okay, and notice we're down pretty hard here. All right, are we looking for a possible entry? Is the market selling off from here? Are we done with the bull run on the market? Well, good question, right? All right, so I personally think we're probably going to get maybe a little bit more highs on the market itself. All right, NASDAQ has certainly been selling off for sure. All right, now, first thing you got to ask yourself is, I don't see a pyramid here, but I do see a new high over here. I still see a bearish situation over here on the weekly chart, because we still got a bearish owl, right? We haven't had that much of a move up. And, if we clear these price bars over here, then that's a very significant level there. We also have just one move up here. I'd like to see a pullback and then a buy point somewhere over here based on the weekly chart. This here, let's focus in on the daily chart and open that up here, okay? So you've definitely had a nice move up. You've had a slight pullback and now another move back to the upside. You no longer have any active short positions here. All right, so you're still you haven't had a really big pullback yet. So that concerns me a little bit. And the NASDAQ, if you look on the NASDAQ on its own merit, it looks like we may have one more high on it. So again, if you went in here and the NASDAQ sells off and we don't get one more high, okay, great. You're going to be in good shape. I probably would wait and see if we get above here. Okay, I think that is a key level of resistance for this market. So I'd be a little reluctant to go in too early here, because as you could see here, it's happened before. You get a slight pull up and then another move down, and that certainly could happen one more time, but it might not. So our goal, I think, going forward here, Jim, is let's see if we got a bottom here. Let's see if this holds. And let's see if we get a pullback. It looks like short term, we're going up one more time. This could be setting up for a good trade, and I'm not going to recommend it right now. But let's take a look and see a week from now how it's doing and if it's taken out any of those support levels I want to watch, all right? So SCO is the next one. Okay, so let's see what we're going on here. Similar situation in that we have a little bit of pullback here to the upside. We have a nice level here, which is the same level here. Let's see if we break that, okay? And then we can look at that as well next week. So I don't see anything really wrong with those, and they may be very close to going in, but I guess I would be a little reluctant to jump in. I think it may be just a teeny bit early, but you did a good job on spotting potential winners, okay? I think that's really good. All right, Sue, let's see what we got here. Art, how are you? AFRM. All right, let's take a look at the long-term situation on this. All right, so this is one that, took out this resistance level here. I'm liking that. Came down, took it out, and we really have not had any threat at all right, at this particular point of taking out this bottom. So I'm kind of liking that. I'm also liking this. Got a little pullback here, but we did get a green off this big change here. So I'm kind of liking that. I think, we may see a little bit more pullback, but let's see what the smaller time frames are showing. Yeah, you see the 60-minute chart, Art, that is still bearish. So what I'm thinking here is if that bottom holds, and I think it will on the weekly chart, we've got a setup here where we had a nice move up, a normal retracement. So if you drew some fibs in, you'll see basically here, even if you pick the very low, that's a normal fib retracement. And so I would expect to see some type of return. Now, if this is a wave one off its bottom, wave two can retrace 100%. So the fact that it's slightly below the fib retracement area is kind of to be expected, possibly on a wave two. Sometimes they end here, but sometimes they go lower. so it doesn't invalidate the wave count of a new trend developing. But the pullback is not over, so don't go in yet. All right. So what I would do is, again, I put this as well as those others on the watch list, because if this is a wave 2 on the weekly chart, once wave 2 ends, then guess what? You got wave 3 to the upside, which is a huge winner. So you don't want to miss it, is what I'm saying. But it's not time to go in yet. All right. Let's wait until the 60-minute chart turns bullish and we see some type of turnaround on the daily chart. Okay. And make sure that bottom holds. So good one to keep an eye on, but not quite yet. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. Constance, how are you? JCI. Let's see what we got cooking on that. In long term. Okay. So my concern here is this red PTF on this time frame. We got green ones on this. So if you're in this one for long term, what's your in terms of long term, what's your goal? All right. Are you going to get out if it reaches a certain price, or is it, paying a dividend and you're happy with the dividends? So there's a lot of reasons people stay in stocks that may not be what's the right word? That fast in movement. Because as you can see, it moves up and pulls back. And so really, that type of thing. So you got a red PTF, but you do have a bullish move here. So the PTF, if it stays red, that's basically saying eventually it should come back down. So you may want to use one of these pyramids on the long-term chart and put your stop right under there so you can lock in profits. I don't know how long you've been in this, but that would be a low of 66.58, okay, for a stop. So that's pretty close, even on the weekly chart, obviously. But again, the momentum is slightly to the upside. It's just the long-term outlook is that we could see a move back down. We're seeing it a little bit on the 60-minute, and it's getting close to that pyramid here. Okay, so if it takes that out, that's probably a bearish sign. So again, I guess what I would do is, depending upon where you got in, how much profit you have, and what's the purpose of holding this long term in your portfolio, will all impact the decision. But I would get out of this. It's not one I'm going to recommend, but I would probably get out of it if it goes below that level I told you before. Okay. Okay, Adobe, let's take a look at this bad boy. And then we'll take a look at Ford. We were long on Ford and got stopped out of that one. So we'll take a look and see if that's possibly giving us another go here. Okay, so this one I like better for staying in long term. You've had the correction already on the weekly chart. So if you look at the chart on the right, 3, 4, 5. Let's take a look and see where this potentially could go. I'm going to open it up. All right, let's see here. So what I'm trying to do is pick out the best place to attach the anchors for the fib extensions. So you got a little bit higher. The target on this is 696 to 957. So that's the target. So you got a little bit more upside. You've had the nice pullback here. So I think that's the bottom that should hold. 3. This should hold too. I would anticipate coming back maybe a little bit more and then seeing a turnaround like that. So I think you could hold this one. Now, if you're concerned about it, then put your stop here at the bottom. But otherwise, this one at least makes sense to hold. I wouldn't worry about the 60-minute chart on that, because the other chart is pretty bullish on that. All right, Ford F. Let's see what we got cooking on that. Now you can see why we got stopped out, right? So we were hoping this bottom was in and we were moving up. So we had our stop here. So we're out. I wouldn't mind looking for another reason to get in, But now I'm afraid this bottom here is not going to hold. So I don't think I would go in yet. All right, let's see how far down this thing slides and if we get a new bottom here. You got red PTFs on the short term, all right, and a long green PTF. So ultimately what the green PTF on the weekly is saying is that this is a wave 4, this should be a 5, but wave 4 may not be over. That's what these charts are telling us. So I would not go in until we have a better determination that wave 4 is over, which means we'd have to have good charts on the daily and 60 minutes. Okay, so hang tight on that. All right, let me share one I do like, and that's let's see about this bad boy. All right, so Tesla, okay, coming down a little bit, but I think very similar to the kind of the one we just looked at. I think we've got a 3, 4. This bottom should hold. We've got green here, red here. So I'm not going to recommend it today, but we're going to put this on the watch list because if this particular bottom holds here, then we should see a turnaround, and that's going to be a great buy point. Okay. So I think Tesla's target for me right now is 352 to 507. It's at 211. We got a green PTF with a target up above this price bar so far, and that is 371. So it should get there once it turns around. But right now it's a little premature because it hasn't quite turned around yet. All right, so that is what I wanted to share with everybody. All right. Art, my pleasure. Okay. All right. So LT capital appreciation, long-term capital appreciation. Gotcha. Okay. That was on that one we looked at. Thank you, Constance. Yeah. And I get that. I get that. Okay. There's a lot of reasons to stay in some of the big boys. They pay dividends. They are a good, may have good diversification within the company and the whole 9 yards. So I get that. All right, let's take a look at UPST. Don't forget, when I give you my analysis, it's purely on technical. All right, I'm not looking at anything fundamental. And there's no reason why you can't use fundamentals with technicals, but the idea is the fundamentals can be good on a company or could be a good sector to be in, and then we use the technicals for more precise timing, that type of thing. All right, so let's take a look at this one. Looking for a long entry. Okay, well, green PTFs, my eyes go right to. All right, we got a basing on the weekly chart, and you got a basing here, and this one here is kind of a little bit move it down here. Okay, so I think you got to wait on this one until we get a breakout. And the reason I say that is because you don't want to get stuck going sideways for another year, right? So let's get a breakout here. And yes, you're giving up some space here. Now, if things change and we look at it next week and we have a good situation, that's fine. You also have a green PTF. So the chances of a breakout are very high. What we don't know, okay, is how long it's going to take. Remember, we don't know the timing with the PTF. And we don't know, are we going to pull back and scrape the bottom again before it goes? So that's kind of the unknown part of it. Yes, we have a pyramid here, but we have a red owl here. So there's you have to have some type of, it's not an A+ trade. It's probably a B because of all the PTFs pointing that eventually it should break out. But if this thing breaks out of here, for example, even if you just use the 30 level up here, let me just grab a line. So even if you just use that level, all right, at least you're breaking out of a support area that's been in place since February, okay? So that's at least something at a minimum I would want to have happen. I get it, you might not want to put it way up here, even though the weekly chart would say, but if this thing breaks, you're talking about a huge run up, because even if we draw that, a 50% retracement is huge in terms of return on your money. So if you waited for this longer term level to be broken, you still have a great profit potential. Now, if you want to go in here, I get that. Okay, you could certainly try that. And you got a green PTF for up here. So let's take a look at this one. Bring this one back next week, and let's see if we get above this upper level here. And I'm just going to give you a price to keep an eye on. So we want to see it break above $32.78. I would consider a long trade there, because the PTF is indicating that we have a strong probability of getting above here. And if we break out of this channel, which has been in place since February, then chances are we're going to move pretty quick. And so then our next level is going to be 49.62. And heck, that ain't bad return, right? So I would probably take that trade if it breaks out of that level, okay? But I'm not going to recommend it now because it hasn't done that, okay? But that's a good one to keep an eye on. And, when you build your watch list, and, we've got a number of stocks on the watch list today. Think of the watch list as a salesman's sales funnel. The more people you have in a sales funnel, the more opportunities you're going to have, right? So when a good analogy for the watch list is that, because the more stocks you have in your watch list, then the more you can keep an eye on, and when they trigger, you'll always have a trade. And you have a lot in there, then chances are you'll get a trigger each week. So you'll always have something good to trade if you do it that way. So watch lists, I think, are really important. All right, well, I think we're done for today. I think that takes us to the end. Let me just quickly go over a couple things here. So the one we liked eBay. I'm going to bring up eBay again. Now remember, eBay, we liked it as a long-term situation. Okay, so this is one where we're trying to get to a weekly target. Now that's not going to happen next week. So this is one you've got to be committed to for a couple years, okay? So I'm liking the configuration. 83 to 113 is the target for that. Now, on the watch list, we've got a number of them. We got SOXS. I think I've got this right. Can't even read my own writing again. KVUE, I think, is one. Not sure that's right. SCO, AFRM, and UPS2. Let me go back into the comments area and see if I can find it. Yeah, it's KVUE. So KVUE. That was on the watch list, okay? And that one was from Stuart, okay? And I think, Stuart, you had the one for eBay too. I'm not sure, but all right, so that is it. Now we're going to be back next week, and let's take a look at some of these that we put on the watch list, okay? And give us a like before you go. I'll put, let's take a look at the NASDAQ here a little bit and see what that's doing. We'll come down here and put these on some of the smaller time frames. And we can kind of watch that a little bit. That's not exactly a small time frame here. Let's, where is that bad boy NASDAQ? There it is. It's 15 minute. Let's go down and put that on the 1 minute. Kind of been kind of wild. Had a wild morning on that. Good morning on that. But now it looks like it based and it's going back up. And the 5 minute. So I got the 5 minute on the right, the 1 minute here, and the 15-second here. Okay, and probably not really any great trade setup right now. Let's take a look and see if we have anything different. Probably not too much on the MES. Similar situation. Strong owl here. There's a possibility, but a bullish chart on the left-hand side. All right, that's a 15-second chart. Crude oil. All right, so when I take a look at something like the crude oil market here, we've got a base here, but look how strong the 5 minute chart is to the downside. So when you have a really strong chart like that, all right, you kind of want to gear your trades to the short side. And you can see all the pyramids already here. It's a little bit too late for a short trade. So what you kind of want to think that may happen here is you'll probably get some type of retracement. And that retracement probably will be somewhere in that target zone. And so then you could align yourself again to go short here. Now, you could also trade up to that zone as well. But now you're trying to pick bottoms. Okay, so you got to be careful with that. But this did hold. So there might be an opportunity now for the market to turn back up. And we're starting to see a bullish, quite a bit of bullishness on the short time frame. But, you know, there it is. So could it make one more dip down before it gets to that target? Sure. Okay. But also, too, the safer bet would be if it does do that, just redraw the fib retracements and then wait for it to get up there and take the next short trade. You know, you're only talking probably having to wait an hour or so. Okay. So that's one that I like a lot better than I like markets on the NASDAQ and the S&P right now. All right, so you guys have a good one. I'll see you back here next week. I'll put a little music on. I'll probably end the room in a few minutes and you can watch and see what happens to the crude oil, okay? All right, thanks everybody.